All right, we're about to go on a pretty epic journey. We're talking more than 1,400 years of history. We're going to explore the incredible story of Islam, a faith that started in the Arabian desert and now, well, it touches every single corner of the globe. Okay, let's dive right in. So, here's the big question, right? How did a faith that began in the Arabian desert end up shaping massive empires, sparking scientific revolutions, and becoming central to the lives of almost 2 billion people today? That's the puzzle we're going to piece together. And to do that, our story has to start in one place, the Arabian Peninsula. We're talking about a time before Islam, a world of powerful tribes and ancient cities like Mecca. Now, these three dates, they are the absolute bedrock of this story. First, 570, the birth of Muhammad. Then, 40 years later, in 610, he receives the first divine revelation while meditating in a cave. And then, 622, the Hijra. This migration to the city of Medina was so pivotal, so completely transformative, that it actually marks year one of the Islamic calendar. And here's a really key detail about the man himself. You see, long before he was a prophet, before any revelations, Muhammad was known throughout his community by a special title, Al-Ameen. It means the trustworthy one. This reputation for just unshakable honesty was absolutely central to who he was, and later to why so many people listened to his message. That hijra we mentioned, it was so much more than just a journey. It was really the birth of a community, a ummah. In Medina, the early Muslims didn't just find a safe haven from persecution. They actually created a new kind of society, built around something called the Constitution of Medina, a really groundbreaking document that guaranteed freedom of religion and mutual defense for everyone, including the city's Jewish tribes. Now, after the Prophet's death in 632, the story doesn't stop, not even close. His successors, known as the caliphs, took the reins, and this next phase, it was one of almost unbelievable expansion, where this community of faith forged a vast and powerful empire. So these are the first four leaders, the rightly guided caliphs, and each one played a totally crucial role. Abu Bakr, he just managed to hold the fragile community together, unifying Arabia. Then Omar, he oversaw this breathtaking expansion into the old empires of Persia and Byzantium. Uthman's huge contribution was creating the standardized version of the Quran that's still used today, and Ali, the Prophet's cousin, he had to face the first fitna, the community's first major civil war over leadership, a really tragic conflict that would shape the future of Islam forever. So after that initial period, the Umayyad dynasty rises to power. They move the capital to Damascus, and just look at this map. They push the empire's borders to an incredible scale. We're talking all the way from Spain in the west, which they called Al-Andalus, right across North Africa and deep into Central Asia. But an empire isn't just about how much land you control. And here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. The next great dynasty, the Abbasids, kicked off an era defined not by conquest, but by culture, by science, and by pure intellect. We call it the Islamic Golden Age. In their incredible new capital, Baghdad, the Abbasids basically sparked a global revolution in knowledge. They didn't just preserve the ancient wisdom of the Greeks and Persians, they built on it, making these unbelievable leaps forward in medicine, literally creating algebra in mathematics, and mapping the stars with stunning new accuracy. A lot of their discoveries would eventually flow into Europe, helping to fuel the Renaissance there. And get this, the Golden Age wasn't just happening in Baghdad. Thousands of miles away in Córdoba, Spain, another amazing center of learning was flourishing. It was like a beacon of light in Europe, a cosmopolitan city where Muslim, Jewish, and Christian scholars all worked side by side, translating texts and pushing the boundaries of what humanity knew. But as we all know, no Golden Age lasts forever. The next several centuries were a period of major upheaval. We're talking external invasions from both the East and the West, and the rise of new, really formidable powers from within the Muslim world itself.
This timeline just hits four world-changing moments of conflict. First, the Crusades kick off, a series of religious wars launched from Europe. Then you get the famous recapture of Jerusalem by the Kurdish Sultan Saladin. But then comes an absolute catastrophe, the Mongol sack of Baghdad, which just utterly destroyed the city and brought the Abbasid Caliphate to a brutal end. And finally, out of all that chaos, a new power rises, the Ottoman Turks, who go on to conquer the ancient capital of Constantinople.
So from that period of intense conflict, three massive and powerful new empires emerged, often called the Gunpowder Empires. You've got the Ottomans, centered in what's now Turkey, who would rule for over 600 years. You had the Safavids in Persia, who established Shia Islam as the state religion, and of course the Mughals in India, who gave the world these breathtaking architectural marvels like the Taj Mahal.
Okay, so let's fast forward now into the modern era and see how this world of great empires transformed into the complex global community that we know today.
This slide really lays out the path pretty clearly. First, you see the slow decline of those mighty empires, which left them vulnerable. And that weakness was exploited in step 2, an age of intense colonization by European powers. Then, after World War I, the winning powers literally carved up old territories like the Ottoman Empire, creating many of the national borders we still see today. And finally, the 20th century was defined by decades of struggle that led to the eventual independence of nations all across the Muslim world.
So after this long, turbulent, and absolutely brilliant journey, this is where we are today. That number, 1.9 billion. Islam is the faith of nearly 2 billion people. It's the second largest religion on Earth, with these incredibly vibrant and diverse communities on every single continent.
So we end up right back where we started, with a question. We've traced this 1,400-year journey of faith, of empire, of knowledge. And if there's one thing we've learned, it's that this story is constantly evolving. It's constantly being written. So the real question this history leaves us with is, what's next? What does the next chapter hold for this ancient and truly global community?